generation practitioner of classical kenjutsu, a woman who had trained since childhood in a discipline most believed no longer existed outside of ceremony. She had made no public challenge. There had been no boastful declaration. She had simply arrived in Hong Kong, made inquiries, and arranged, through intermediaries, a private meeting. Bruce had agreed. Those who knew him well understood why. He never refused a test, not out of arrogance, but because he believed combat was truth. And truth, unlike reputation, could not be inherited. What followed in that room would be recounted in fragmented whispers, first among martial artists in Hong Kong, then in letters exchanged between trainers across the Pacific. Within weeks, a short account appeared in a Japanese martial arts publication. Within months, versions of the story had reached Los Angeles, New York, and London. And yet, what actually happened behind those closed doors remained known only to the few who stood along the walls that night, including as some accounts would later suggest, a young American boxer passing through Hong Kong, a man whose name would become synonymous with a different kind of combat entirely. The woman raised her blade slightly. Bruce Lee did not blink. What happened next would be talked about for decades, but never satisfactorily explained. Not by those who witnessed it, not by those who studied it, and not by the only two people who truly understood what unfolded in those 17 seconds of motion. Because what began as a test of skill became something else entirely. The air in the training hall was thick with humidity. Summer in Kowloon offered no mercy, and the wooden shutters had been drawn closed, not for privacy, but to keep the sun from turning the room into an oven. It didn't help. The heat pressed down on everyone present. There were perhaps 9 or 10 people standing along the walls. Most were martial artists, some local, some visiting from Taiwan and Japan. A few were members of Bruce's inner circle, men who had trained with him in the months since his return to Hong Kong. They stood with their arms crossed or their hands clasped behind their backs. No one spoke. In the far corner, seated on a low wooden bench, was a broad-shouldered black man in a light linen shirt. He had arrived in Hong Kong 3 days earlier, officially for a promotional tour, unofficially to escape the pressures building around him back home. His name had not been announced when he entered. It didn't need to be. Everyone in that room knew the face of Muhammad Ali. He had come at Bruce's personal invitation. The two had met briefly in Los Angeles the year before, introduced through a mutual acquaintance in the entertainment industry. Ali had been curious then, curious about this small Chinese man who moved like water and spoke like fire. Now, sitting in the corner of a Kowloon training hall, he was about to see what that curiosity had been pointing toward. Kimura Yuki had not acknowledged anyone in the room. From the moment she entered, her focus had been singular. She had bowed once, removed her sandals, and taken her position on the floor. Her katana, an authentic blade, not a practice weapon, had been unsheathed with the calm efficiency of someone who had performed the motion 10,000 times. Bruce had watched her prepare without interruption. He offered no greeting, no small talk. When she was ready, he simply stepped forward and stopped at a distance of approximately 8 feet. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Kimura shifted her weight, less than an inch, barely perceptible. But Bruce saw it. His head tilted almost imperceptibly to the right. She was testing his reaction time, probing, looking for the delay between perception and motion. She found none. Bruce remained exactly where he was, his posture loose, his weight evenly distributed. To an untrained eye, Bruce since the exchange began. He had seen fast men before. He had faced fast men, men who made their living with speed, men whose hands moved quicker than thought. But he had never seen anything like this. "Damn," he murmured, low enough that only the man beside him could hear. "He's faster than me." It was not a joke. It was not flattery. It was the honest assessment of a man who understood speed at a level few humans ever would. The training hall remained silent. No one applauded. No one spoke. What they had witnessed did not call for celebration. It called for contemplation. But the encounter was not over. Kimura Yuki straightened her posture. Her eyes met Bruce's, and in a voice that carried no anger, no resentment, only a kind of quiet intensity, she spoke. Again. Bruce did not answer immediately. He looked at the katana in his hand, the weight of it, the balance, the centuries of tradition forged into its steel. Then, without a word, he reversed his grip and extended the handle toward Kimura. She hesitated, not out of fear, but out of something deeper. In her world, a disarmed revealed the depth of her training. This was not sport. This was not exhibition. This was the real thing. A classical technique preserved across generations for a single purpose: to end a fight in seconds. Bruce ducked beneath the second cut. Not dramatically, there was no dive, no roll, no desperate evasion. He simply lowered his body by bending his knees, letting the blade pass over his head with inches to spare. And in that same motion, before Kimura could reset her stance, he stepped in, not forward. In! The distance between them collapsed in a fraction of a heartbeat. Suddenly he was inside her range, too close for the katana to be effective, too close for her to generate power. His right hand came up, lost toward her face fast enough to force a reaction. Kimura jerked her head back instinctively. It was a natural response, a human response, the kind of reflex that no amount of training could fully eliminate. But the strike was never intended to land. In the moment her weight shifted backward, Bruce's left hand moved. It found her right wrist, the wrist holding the sword, and applied pressure at a precise angle. The technique was subtle, almost invisible to those watching. There was no dramatic twist, no loud crack. Just a small, sharp redirection that exploited the anatomy of the human grip. Kimura's fingers opened. The katana fell. Bruce caught it before it hit the ground. The room exhaled, though no one had realized that. Same motion before Kimura could reset her stance. He stepped in, not forward. In! The distance between them collapsed in a fraction of a heartbeat. Suddenly he was inside her range, too close for the katana to be effective, too close for her to generate power. His right hand came up, lost toward her face fast enough to force a reaction. Kimura jerked her head back instinctively. It was a natural response, a human response, the kind of reflex that no amount of training could fully eliminate. But the strike was never intended to land. In the moment her weight shifted backward, Bruce's left hand moved. It found her right wrist, the wrist holding the sword, and applied pressure at a precise angle. The technique was subtle, almost invisible to those watching. There was no dramatic twist, no loud crack. Just a small, sharp redirection that exploited the anatomy of the human grip. Kimura's fingers opened. The katana fell. Bruce caught it before it hit the ground. The room exhaled, though no one had realized they were holding their breath. Kimura stood frozen, her right hand still extended, her eyes wide with something that was not fear but something closer to incomprehension. She had trained for 31 years. She had faced opponents in Japan, in Korea, in private challenge matches that no official record would ever document. She had never been disarmed, not once, and this man had done it in under 4 seconds. Bruce stepped back. He held the katana loosely, the blade pointing downward and away, a gesture of respect, not threat. His expression had not changed. There was no triumph in his eyes, no satisfaction, no contempt. He looked, if anything, calm, as if what had just occurred was simply a natural outcome, like water flowing downhill. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Kimura did something unexpected. She lowered her head, not in shame, but in acknowledgement. A small bow, barely perceptible, but unmistakable in its meaning. Bruce returned the bow with equal subtlety. In the corner, Muhammad Ali leaned forward on the wooden bench, his forearms resting on his knees. His eyes had not left. simple, direct, and yet carrying a weight that those present would remember for the rest of their lives. "I am someone who has learned to be water." Kimura did not respond immediately. She stood motionless, the katana still lowered at her side, her breath gradually slowing. Her eyes remained fixed on Bruce, not with hostility, not with defeat, but with the quiet intensity of someone trying to comprehend something that defied her categories. Water. She had heard the metaphor before. Every martial artist had. It was a cliché, a piece of Eastern philosophy reduced to decoration, printed on scrolls and recited by teachers who had never truly understood its meaning. But watching this man move, watching him flow around her attacks, reshape himself in response to her pressure, fill every gap she left open, she realized she had never actually seen it before. Not like this, not made flesh. The silence in the room stretched on, and slowly, Kimura Yuki did something that no one present had anticipated. She turned the katana in her hands, reversing the blade so that the edge faced her own body. She extended the weapon toward Bruce, handle first, and lowered herself to one knee. It was not a gesture of submission. In the classical tradition she had inherited, it was something far more significant, an acknowledgement of mastery, a recognition that